Hello, welcome to episode 109 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name is Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today is the 26th of March. So welcome everybody. I hope you've all had a lovely crafty week since the last time I've spoken to you, and I'm here to share all the things that I've been making in the last 7 days. So this week we have some knitting, some crochet, several types of sewing, which I will show you later. And I have a confession section, although they're absolutely guilt-free because I found a couple of codes where I've got some free patterns, so I'll share those with you. And also I thought I'd talk about some tutorials that I've got for things that you can do during this time where we're cooped up in the house a lot, so I thought that might help you quite a bit, especially if you've got kids in the house as well. I have some shop update information at the end of the podcast as well if you're interested in that. So you can find me on Instagram, Ravelry and Facebook as Craft House Magic, and I have my own website crafthousemagik.co.uk where you can find my handmade project bags, hand-dyed yarns, stitch markers and knitting needles, which are all higher. I normally put the show notes on the website, but I am going to actually start doing the show notes on the website, but also in the down bar just here, so that you can quickly just go and check and click on it if you're interested in finding something. I thought that'd just be easier to use for you guys, but I will still keep putting them on the website as well in case you want to sort of scroll down through all the episodes where all the links are as well. So there we are. So last week we had a 10,000 subscriber giveaway, so thank you so much for all the really lovely comments. It was so nice to sit there and read through them all. I've got such a big head now. No, thank you so much. Anyway, I got the random comment picker on the computer to pick out a random comment so that I could have a winner, and the winner is Angie Stitch T 78. So congratulations, Angie. I assume that is your name, it's your username, so it must be something related to your name anyway. Angie, if you'd like to contact me on crafthousemagik@gmail.com, my email address, with your full postal address, and also I know that you picked Cornflake Girl as your colourway, your favourite colourway, so you win 12 minis that I showed you on last week's podcast, plus a full skein of Cornflake Girl. But can you just confirm which base that you'd like it in on your email with your full address in as well, please? So that's lovely. Congratulations, Angie, and thank you to everybody else for making an effort to pop a comment on there. We have a couple of Makalongs going on at the moment. We have the Retro Mal, which is basically anything retro and any sort of technique, knitting, crochet, sewing, woodwork, whatever you like. Come and join in. Anything that's retro related and any tenuous links are very welcome. And that will go on till the end of this month, so you still have plenty of time to enter if you've made things. I'm basically drawing prizes from the discussion thread, so there's no finished objects thread as such. So that's in the Ravelry group. We also have the What a Lot of Potter Cow going on, and we are knitting things out of this book. And I'm doing it in collaboration with the lovely Becky from the Back to Blighty podcast, and she is knitting an amazing jumper. Go over to her podcast and have a look. She's just done one recently, and she's got some lovely other makes as well, so don't forget to go and watch her podcast as well. But we are doing this knit along together, so I'm doing the discussion thread over in my Ravelry group, and then Becky's got the finished objects thread in her Ravelry group, so links to those are all down below as well as on the website as well. We have a lovely giveaway, so lovely Amanda has donated 3 copies of her gorgeous hat pattern, which is called the Fin Hat, and her name is Makalongs. So if you want to purchase her pattern over on Ravelry, all the proceeds are actually going to Cancer Research UK. So if you're interested in supporting the charity as well as the gorgeous pattern that Amanda has designed, you can see a picture up here. Go over to Ravelry and purchase a copy. But she's also given the podcast 3 copies to give away. So if you'd like to win one of Amanda's hat patterns, please comment down below and give us the video a like, and then I will use random comment picker to pick 3 people, and you guys can win a copy of the lovely Fin Hat as well. So thank you so much, Amanda. Don't forget to go over to her Ravelry page. I'll leave a link to the pattern down below so you can find it easily as well. Right, so let's get into the knitting. So first of all, I have my Harry Potter transportation scarf. I should show you what it's supposed to look like first. That might It might help. I've taken my bookmark out, which is very, very clever, isn't it? Oh dear, not a good start to the podcast. So this is the pattern I'm doing. I'm knitting this scarf, and it was originally supposed to be for me, but Adam's decided that he's going to have it. So last week I had done, I think, up to about there, and I've done, so there's a bust section, a broom section, and then platform 9 3/4, and then I'm starting on the bus again. So I've done quite a bit since last week, and it's all done in colour work. Don't look too closely because it's not the neatest job in the world. I found that when I started knitting on this, because I'm not used to knitting colour work in quite a thick yarn, this is Aran weight, that I found it a bit more difficult than knitting colour work with sort of 4-ply, the yarn that I normally use. But I think I've got the hang of it now. I think I said on last week's podcast that I found that when I'm knitting 2 colour work with 1 yarn in one hand and 1 yarn in the other, that my right hand tends to do floats a little bit tighter. So I just consciously make an effort to make sure that my right hand floats were definitely loose, so that it come out a little bit neater. And I think that at the bottom here my bust is a little bit messier than the rest of the scarf, although it's not the neatest in the world. I'm sure that blocking will sort it out. So like I said, it was an Aran weight yarn that I'm using, and it's actually my own hand-dyed yarn in the merino Aran base, which is 115 grams of merino yarn, and it's 190 yards, which is very close to what the pattern suggested. So it fitted perfectly, and my colourways that I'm using is Ordinary World for the background. I've got Walking on Sunshine for the yellow broomsticks. I've got Purple Rain for the bus, and Because the Night for the platform 9 3/4 logo. So there we go. So I have to do basically this repeat 3 times and then I've finished. So I've got quite a lot done this week, I think. And the pattern actually goes all the way around the scarf, and it's knitted in a tube like so, and you can see my messy floats inside. But it's flattened down, and there's some lovely tassels that you add to the ends, which is going to be fun. Very, very squishy, and it's going to be very, very warm. And I think Adam's saying, have you finished my scarf yet? Cheeky, that's what I say. Oh dear. Anyway, I've actually ripped out my Gwanwyn sweater that I've started. Let me get to the front of the pattern. I don't know why I bother showing you this, because I always put a picture up at the end, but it's a lovely pattern by Verena Cause, and it's got some beautiful lace around the neck. Now this is a sweater pattern, but I am going to turn it into a cardigan pattern, and I ripped out what I did. To be honest, I really haven't got much to show you. So I'd actually got 1.5 inches done off around the neck, so it's a top down, and you do a provisional cast on to start off, and it's quite intuitive the way the pattern instructions are so far. I'm enjoying it, and it's charted, so the next bit I can just nicely follow the chart along. What I'd done before is that when I'd done my calculations to leave a little bit of a space here to do some plain knits so that I could then steek it once I'd finished knitting it in the round and make it into a cardigan, what I'd done is failed to remember that I need to make sure that it's a mirror image either side of the centre point. So I'd gone merrily along and done all my calculations, thought, yes, I've sorted it. And then I realised that what I needed is that obviously it needs to be a mirror image, so a part of the pattern that starts off on this side needs to be finished the same on this side. So I did try and drop down some of the stitches that I'd put in for the steeking and pick those up in the lace bit, and again, but I thought it's really not going to work steeking straight into lace. I need those sort of at least 6 stitches, plain knit stitches, to be able to cut into when I finish knitting the main part of the garment. I've actually used a bit of crochet cotton to do the provisional cast on, but the colourway I'm doing it in is Purple Rain, and this cake is a bit messy, so let's get one that's slightly tidier. So this is my purple haze colourway, and it's on my DK base, and this is the merino DK that I have. I also do a BFL DK as well, but I thought this would be lovely and squishy as a cardie. Probably last longer if I did it in BFL, but I just decided I'm going to do it in merino. So there we go. So that was the Gwanwyn Sweater by Verena Cause. And I hope to get a good start on that before the next podcast, because it just, when I'd done it wrong, it just made me so cross. I just threw it to one side and I couldn't even bring myself to unwind it or unravel it until last night. So that was me starting off last night, but then I was on FaceTime, not FaceTime, I was on Skype to my friends Rob and Claire, so I couldn't concentrate on the lace bit, so I switched to my crochet project, which then leads me in nicely to my crochet section. So I have been working on my Nature's Walk blanket, and this is a lovely pattern by Sandra Paul of the Cherry Heart podcast. And it really doesn't look like I've done a lot really, but this blanket is quite large. I've got it folded up here, and I've been doing the border section. So the pattern is Nature's Walk blanket by Sandra Paul, and she does the lovely Cherry Heart podcast. So if you're looking for podcasts, go and watch Sandra. She's brilliant. She does so much lovely crochet. This pattern is absolutely beautiful. Do you know what? I'd knit another one of these. They're absolutely gorgeous. And I actually picked up a kit from Black Sheep Wools, which you got all the wools for this, and it is the Stonewash Sheepies yarn. When I bought it, there were a couple of colourways. I think actually, I don't know if there was 3 or 4 that were replaced from the very original design that Sandra did. So I ended up actually purchasing some of this pale pink, which is listed on Sandra's original design, because it was replaced with a brighter pink, and I didn't like how that teamed up with the other colours in the blanket. So this is how it's looking, and you can see how I've done a few rows of the lace edging. If I just show you one layer, you'll be able to see the lace a bit better. So I've done about 3 rows of the lace edging all the way around the outside of this blanket since the last episode. It's taken me quite a long time. I'm not the fastest person at crocheting, so I'm hoping, I think I've got about 4 rows left, so I'm getting there slowly, and I might even finish it by next week. Don't hold me to that though, because it does take me quite a long time, but I do love it. Absolutely gorgeous. These colours, oh, absolutely love them. I think as well that some of the, I think this one was a replacement from a pale lilac colour, so it is a bit closer to this purple, but I really like it anyway. It was only that light pink that I put in instead of the brighter pink that they put in as a replacement, if that makes sense. Hopefully I'm not just gabbling on. So that's my crochet. I won't tell you all the colours right now because it does they are listed on the pattern page anyway. So there we go. So that was my crochet section. And I have quite a bit of sewing to show you guys. So first of all, I'm going to start with my dressmaking bit of the sewing section. Barbara, will you pop over and show us what you're wearing? Thank you very much, Barbara. So this is the Indigo top from Tilly and the Buttons, and there is a dress version of this, so there is a longer version with pockets as well, but I chose to do the top because I thought I could wear it with a pair of jeans or leggings if I was feeling a bit daring. So the fabric I used was from Plush Addict, and I will leave a link down below to the actual listing of the fabric because I didn't buy it that long ago, so I think they've got some more left. It is a viscose rayon and it is a very drapey fabric. This pattern is made for a woven type of fabric, and I think that because it's a nice drapey fabric, it is a bit more flattering for me, because if I did it in something like cotton, it would stick out quite a lot because it's quite a floaty top. So it's got facing around the neck, which I have stitched down because I hate seeing facing flapping around. It really annoys me. So I've kept that the same. So there was an option to do a little frilly bit around this seam here, but I chose to omit that because it just is a bit too fussy, I think, around an area that I don't really want people to be focused on. The same goes for the sleeves as well. There was a little bit of a flouncy bit that you could opt in for if you wanted to, but I chose just to do the plain. So this bottom bit is gathered into the top bit here, so it's quite fitted over the bust area, then it floats out here so that it sort of covers any lumps and bumps, which is brilliant. I've tried it on once and I think that it is quite flattering, but of course until I wear it for like a full day I can't quite tell if I love it or not, so we'll see. There are bust darts in the bust area, and then at the back it's just the same sort of panels, the gathered bit at the back, and then the fitted sort of bit across the shoulders. What I did actually is that I normally pick different sizes from the top to the bust to the hips anyway, but because this had darts in already and it is a woven garment rather than a stretchy garment, I actually used a template that I had that I'd drawn using the pattern cutting information that I'd learned on a course down at Norwich City College. We had a book that we used to help draw those sort of blocks, and I will put a link to that down below. But I basically made up these bodice blocks and trouser leg blocks so that I can actually put it up against the pattern and make sure that I'm picking the right size for me. I actually did that in terms of finding the shape around the shoulders, etc., but I did actually just use the dart from the block that I'd actually made specifically to fit my figure. So it does fit really nicely. Well, at least I think it does. I hope so. I have tried it on and I have made tops before from those blocks that have fitted really nicely, so I'm really looking forward to wearing this. I kept it to show you guys before I actually wore it so it didn't get too messed up. I don't know exactly how I would mess it up, but still. I wouldn't have to rush to get it washed for the podcast. I really like this style. This would be the type of thing I think I'd wear for for a meal out, just to sort of dress it up very slightly. Please excuse the fact that it's not pressed. I just stuck it on Barbara and goodness knows what she's been doing while she's been wearing it. I don't know. So there we go. That is my first sort of sewing project for this week. I don't know if actually you can see the bottom bit. This comes down well over my hips here when I've got it on, and the sleeves are about 3/4 length on me. Hopefully actually after I finish videoing the podcast I shall take some footage of me wearing it in the garden so you can see how it looks on me as well as Barbara. Oh wow, that was quick, Barbara. She's found something else to show us. I almost forgot to show this to you. So this is a top that I made from the pattern I drafted that I was talking about a bit earlier, ages ago, and I only just got round to just taking in the shoulders slightly because it just seemed a little bit wide on my shoulders, which is makes it a little bit less flattering really. So this is a fabric that I picked it up from a little fabric shop in Holt in North Norfolk. We were out for the day, it must have been last year I think, and I picked a metre up, and it's just enough to make a nice short sleeve t-shirt. So like I said, I used a self-drafted block that I'd made during a class over at Norwich City College, so I used that to create something that fit me really well. Of course, obviously I didn't measure my shoulders quite right because it just needed to come in like a centimetre just there, and now it fits me really nicely. So that's all finished. So it's just a basic one panel front, one panel back top, with bust darts in there, and then just some little sleeves. Short sleeves, I can get them out of a 1 metre piece, so I'm really pleased with that. You can get, I think I paid about £12 for a metre of this. Is a cotton lawn, and it just makes a nice inexpensive top and I've got something to fit me really nicely. So when I was making this I wanted to use some binding around the neckline. This is bias binding, a satin finish, and it just makes it nicely finished around the neck, and I've just top stitched it with a matching thread there, and I've actually bound the inside of the sleeves with the same bias binding tape. I for this one I actually did French seams throughout because I was pretty sure it was going to fit, because I did do a muslin, but how I didn't realise that it wasn't quite fitting on the shoulders, I don't know. It could have been actually for the muslin I only did one sleeve, so I wasn't quite sure about where it would lie on the shoulder. For the indigo top that I just showed you, I actually just did overlocked seams because I just wanted to it would work up quicker, and I just wanted to make sure that it would fit perfectly before I actually spent all that time doing French seams like I did on this one, and then I ended up having to modify the shoulder anyway. But I'm pleased with the fit of both of these. So thank you very much, Barbara. She's been working very hard this week, hasn't she? So I was really pleased to sort of finish another thing off that I'd got hanging around the craft room. So you might remember on my Make 9, I think it was, on my sewing targets video at the beginning of the year, I wanted to make some muslin cloths to use in the kitchen instead of kitchen roll, because it just seems such a waste throwing pieces of paper away, instead of using something that can then be stuck in the washing machine and used again and again and again. So had a go at that. So I found that I got a stash of muslin in my cupboard for some reason. Goodness knows why I bought this muslin. Oh, I think it might have been to do trapunto quilting, which I did ages ago, but for some reason I bought like 4 meters. Because you do, don't you? Anyway, I've just cut it into 8-inch squares, and I've just done some overlocking around the edge. Really, really simple. Nothing very exciting really, and to be honest I used pale grey overlock thread just because it was already in my overlocking machine, because I thought, well, it doesn't really matter what I overlock it with. But I've done these sort of 8-inch squares, and what I'm doing is I'm folding them like this so that they're sort of interlocked into each other. So effectively you've got one folded like that over the other one, and I've put them in a box so that when you pull one out, the next one comes out. So I picked this box up from Amazon, and when you pull one, another one comes out. Ta-da! So I messed around with a few sizes of this, and I thought 8 inches would be quite a good size. They don't mop up quite as well as kitchen towels just yet, but I haven't actually washed them, so I'm going to see how that goes. I've been told that once you've used them a couple of times, they soften up a little bit because they're still a bit stiff, the cotton muslin. I will put a link to this tissue box holder in the down bar so you can find it as well, but it's basically a plastic box here with a removable wooden sort of lid so that you can pop things inside there. And actually you could use these as sort of hankies as well and reuse them as well, but obviously I'd keep them separate to the kitchen ones. But there we go. I'm really pleased with this, and I actually, because even if they're not as absorbent this time around, what I've been doing is that once I've mopped something up, I then run it under the tap and squeeze it out and mop it up some more, which actually makes it better, because you can't really put kitchen towels or paper towels underneath the tap, can you? So I think that's really useful. And then because they're really small, you haven't sort of got loads of washing to do at the end. Bung them in the washing machine as you go, and then have a load at the end of the week with all your tea towels. So I think that's a brilliant idea. I did nick it off some other people, I didn't just think of it myself, but I do think that this box, I'm really pleased with how this sort of goes with our kitchen as well. So it's like a bamboo wood finish as well, and I've ruined it now because I've took the lid off and you can see them all sort of folded up inside. But if you do fold them, as I say, like this, so that they're intertwined, you sort of lift one up and the other one comes out at the same time. So if you keep folding them one after the other like that all the way in the box, you can just keep pulling them out like normal tissues work, really. Very excited about that. Very simple but very exciting. And I think it's even more useful these days. It's harder to get hold of things you've been throwing away, like toilet roll and kitchen roll. So replace the kitchen roll with reusable things. Not quite as easy to replace toilet roll, is it, guys? We won't go there. Oh dear. Oh dear. Anyway, right, we have some cross stitch next. So last week I'd picked up my cross stitch that I'd been working on for oh goodness knows, at least a year or two, and I picked it up again, started doing it, and I promised myself that I do a little bit every week. Even if it's a little bit, I'll show you, and then it'll keep me sort of on top of it and excited about doing it. So this is the pattern, and I picked it up from a charity shop absolutely years ago, and you can see sort of what it's supposed to look like. All the threads were with it as well. This is a bit creased again, but I'll show you. It can sort of, if I show you the whole piece, you can sort of see what percentage I've done of it in total. So since last week, I've done this branch here, which doesn't seem a lot, but it's took me a few hours, and I've got another branch to do in the corner here to fill that tree in, and then I've got some different coloured sort of flowery bits to add. So that's how I've got on this week with that. So hopefully, even if I show you a little tiny bit each week, it will get done slowly and surely. But actually, that is quite a high percentage of it finished. Just if you look at the little, I call it a map. It's not a map, Ellie. You can see that that tree that I'm stitching on now is just there. So I've done quite a bit of this. So there isn't that much to go. So I've got to keep on ploughing through it, and I can have that on my wall. I think I'm going to do it in the hallway. I'm trying to do it as neat as possible, by making sure that I don't have too many ends hanging, and I'll show you the back as well. I'm trying to keep it nice and neat on the back. But there we go. That is my cross stitch. And I'm hoping I can at least get that other branch on the tree done for next week. And you can shout at me if I don't get it completed. I think that is all the things that I've been working on this week. Apart from the stuff for the shop, of course. But I do have some confessions. Now, I actually mentioned kittenish behaviour on the last episode as well, but I was watching Sian again, and she was saying that there was some really lovely crafty arty people out there that were giving away some free codes to get patterns and things. And there was the Swoon website. So Swoon are a lovely company that do some really nice bag patterns, like handbags and luggage and things like that, and they had a code for a free pattern. So I went over there and had a look. I hadn't actually looked at their website before, so I had a look at their website, and I picked one that I was going to use my free code for. The code is Stay Healthy, all one word, block capitals, and it's valid till the end of this month. So you can find links to the Swoon website to get your free pattern if you want to. And I chose the Sierra zip top handbag, which I'll pop a picture up here, and I just thought that was gorgeous. And it was actually the same one that Sian chose from Kittenish Behaviour, and I'd seen it on the website. I thought, oh, I've got to go over to the Swoon website and see what else they've got. There are a couple of other patterns that I've got my eye on as well, but I'm going to have a go at that one first. But there was also a cardigan pattern that was free download on there as well, so I popped that in my basket at the same time, and that was the scarf neck cardigan, and it was a little bit like the cardigan that I wanted to copy that I wear a lot. So pop a picture up there as well of that, so you can see what it looks like. So that is a free pattern already on Swoon, so I'll put a link again to that, the cardigan pattern as well. Sian also mentioned that Andi Satterlund had got an offer for a free pattern for everybody. That's his knitting pattern, and the code was Stay Home for that. And I also wanted to say that I have got a few tutorials on this site, video tutorials for sewing different things. There's quite a few Christmassy things, but I do have an owl pattern that you can make a little owl from hand stitching together, and you can use little scraps of fabric and buttons and some toy stuffing if you've got that hanging around the house. Something to keep you going when we've got a lot of time hanging around the house. I always think there's so many things that I want to make, so I really don't mind hanging about the house at all. I have some free sock patterns on my website. I have the V for Valentine sock pattern, the simple top down sock. If you're interested in learning sock knitting and you've never knitted a sock before, the simple top simple top-down sock would be perfect for you to start with, and I also have video tutorials on that as well. And I have a pattern that I brought out when we got married, me and Adam, and that's the Love and to Cherish sock pattern as well, so that's a free pattern. So plenty of things to get you busy without actually spending anything. Thought that would help you guys. So it's not a proper confession section at all, is it? I'm going to try and get a couple of videos up this week before the next podcast. So I've just got the shop update next. So if you're not interested in listening to that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode, hopefully. But for those of you who are interested, I've got a couple of new fabrics that I'm excited to show you. First of all, I just wanted to say that the shop is open, but I am reducing the amount of times that I pop out to post things out, so it'll only be sort of twice a week, so things might be taking a little bit longer to get posted out. But apart from that, I'm carrying on as normal, really, because I work from home in this craft room. My favourite place to be. So I'll show you my new bags. So first of all, I've got a new sheepy fabric, and it's a very cheerful pastel sort of creamy yellow background with some gorgeous little sheepies on there jumping around. This is the medium-sized drawstring version, and I've just popped 4 skeins in there so that you can see what you can fit in. When I do draw the top, you can see that that fits nicely, 4 skeins. If you do have a drawstring version, sometimes the first time you draw it in, it's a little bit stiff, but it softens up after a couple of times, and it works really nicely. There's 2 nice big pockets on the one side. You can see my logo that I've got printed on the side. So that's the drawstring version. I do have a zipped version, which is the same size, but this is obviously flat. I haven't got stuff in it to show you, but you can just see the principle that it's a zipped closure rather than a drawstring. And then I've got the same 2 big pockets inside, and I've chosen to line these all in nice fresh white fabric, just because I think it complements the outside fabric nicely. So I've also got the larger versions. I haven't actually got this filled up. I'll put some yarn in there so you can see it a little bit better. So I've now filled it up. I've put 15 100-gram skeins in there. You can see it's nice and filled. And this is the drawstring version of the large bag. And that's what it looks like with 15 100-gram skeins in. So you can get quite a lot in there. And that's the drawstring version, but I have got a zipped version, but it'll basically look exactly the same, but just with the zip across the top. I do like the large bags being drawstring though, because you can sort of fold it, the edge over, and have it as like a big bucket of yarny goodness. I'll show you how that looks with the top folded down. Yummy. So that's my large version of the bag, and I have some little bits and bobs to go with that. So whenever you buy a bag from my shop, I normally put a little lavender sachet in there with matching fabric. It's always lovely to have a little bit of smell of lavender. I have got matching DPN cases. You can put your double pointed needles in, but also circular needles in as well. These standard size ones I normally do for the 6-inch needles, but if you have got larger needles and you would like a longer one, if you just drop me a message, I'll do a slightly larger one for the same price. I have my scissor cases, which you have the option to order a pair of scissors to go in there as well with the same sheepy fabric. My circular needle cases, and I do have a video, a separate video which I'll link, sorry, up that side. I keep wanting to point that corner in this corner to show you how to use these circular needle cases. You basically put the needles in there and wrap it round, but I shall obviously, if you want to see that, you can see the video. My little notions pouches, which when you open them up, when you sort of have them open on the table, it sort of stands like that, which is, I think, is quite nice. And I also have another fabric to show you. So I shall show you the medium-sized drawstring first, so that you can see. So this is the a beautiful purple batik fabric that I picked up from my fabric supplier, which I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I won't show you with everything in, but it's the same size as the first one I showed you of the other fabric. So there's that beautiful batik fabric, and then I've paired it with some sort of purpley grey on the inside, and again they've all got large pockets, 2 large pockets on the inside there. So I also have the zipped version in the medium size, and it's all the same pockets inside. So those are my medium versions. But I've also decided to stock a smaller size bag. So these are the smaller ones. The zipped one, I've actually done it a little bit shorter than the drawstring because the proportions don't work very well otherwise. And this is the drawstring version of the smaller bag. It's a few inches narrower than the medium size, like that. And these are for sort of sock projects and small 1 skein projects that you've got. You probably get a couple of skeins in easily actually for these small ones even. So there's 200g skeins in there inside the bag, so there's still plenty of room. It's just a little bit smaller. So that's the zipped version, and then I also have a drawstring version as well, so they'll look like that, and that's got 200g in, so they're still plenty big enough for a small shawl project really. So that's that size. So the medium ones, I've got the drawstring and zipped slightly bigger. And then I've got the large bags, which is the same as one I showed you before when I could get 15 skeins in there. And I've got a bit of my yarn trying to attack it off my crochet blanket. So that's the large version of the purple batik fabric, and it's all of these have got the same sort of purpley grey matching fabric with the pockets. And actually I forgot to say, for the large size bag there's 3 pockets in the side there which fit sort of A5 size paper, if that makes sense. So you can get a little notepad in there. I also have the little accessories to go with it, the DPN case, the scissor case just there, the notions pouch, and the circular needle case as well. But this fabric is really pretty. And of course if you order the bag you get a little lavender sachet. So that's all the bags that I've got to show you for this week's shop update, but I do have some exciting plans that will be in the coming weeks as well to show you, so I'm excited to share that with you, but I'm not going to say anything just yet. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I shall see you in the next podcast. Bye!